Question 6 is a function question, and it's a literature passage. But if you understand what the passage is saying here, which is actually quite easy to pick up, there is not a lot of difficulty in answering this question. So let me break down what the passage is actually saying here. So I'm looking at the kind of blurb about the passage, and it's saying that there's a narrator, there's his friend Harris, and there is another friend. So there's 3 people, that are on this boat. And then the passage goes on and talks about Harris, and it's talking about how he had gone across the English Channel when it was so rough, so what they're saying is rocky, that other passengers had to be tied to their beds. And he, Harris, and the captain were the only 2 people who were not ill. So him and another person were the only ones who were not ill. And we're going to read the next sentence. And it says, sometimes it was he, it was still he, Harris, and another random person, another second person who were not ill again. Or it was him and some other person, another man. So he's talking about who was not sick on this super rough trip. He's saying it was either him and the captain, him and a second person, or him and a totally other separate random man. But in general, if not he and another man, so if it's not him, so again, this he is Harris and another person, then it was he, Harris, by himself. So what he's saying is, if it wasn't Harris and another person who wasn't ill, then it was Harris himself, the only one who was not sick. So he's saying it was, somebody was always sick, but if there was somebody not ill, it was always me. It's me and another person, or just me alone. I was the only person not sick on this boat ride. Let's look at the answer choices. Answer choices A says there's a reason for Harris's eagerness to resume traveling. So there's nothing that's saying that he really likes traveling or he wants to continue traveling. Resume means to continue. We don't see that. He's just saying, I never got sick on that trip, even though that boat was rough. Answer choice B says it hints at Harris's feeling that during an earlier boat trip, others didn't include him in activities. Now, being ill is not considered an activity. So we're not going to say that Harris felt left out or he got FOMO, that other people were not including him in being ill. So because he also seems to be kind of boasting about the fact that he was the only one who stayed healthy. So for that reason, B is incorrect. C says it emphasizes that Harris always boasts about his own constitution. Now, in case we didn't know, constitution, especially in more classical texts, means physical health, not mental health, but physical well-being. That can be your own constitution. So when he's talking about a previous boat trip, so even we saw that the boat trip across the English Channel. So he's saying, I was really healthy on that boat trip. Yeah, I'm like everything in answer choice C. Answer choice D says that although Harris claims to prefer solitary activity, so this is being alone, when traveling, he actually enjoys having company. Well, we don't know actually if he likes being alone or if he likes having company. All we know is that he was alone in being healthy all the time. So we don't know what he prefers. There's really no comparison about that in the passage either. So we know the correct answer to this is C. So if you do kind of pick up, you will notice that I didn't solve this passage using my regular kind of tricks for reading lit passages or function questions. And the reason for that is that this passage was actually quite simple to read. If you remember from any of my other videos on literature passages, usually when I'm reading a lit passage, I read for adjectives and adverbs. And I would have started doing that on this passage as well. But once I start reading the first long sentence, which is very long, you will know that we just have rough and living in not ill in that sentence. There's really not a lot of adjectives that are being used or adverbs that are being used in that first sentence. So immediately I know, okay, I have to really kind of just read the rest of that passage to solve this question. So this strategy definitely works most of the time. If you get a passage like this where you can't do that, read the passage. Most times, though, if you can't use this adjective and adverb trick, the passage itself is going to be quite simple to read. Because if it doesn't have adjectives and adverbs, it means it's a rather simple passage. So the correct answer for this question was answer choice C.